There are moments when every parent's worst fear stops being imaginary and becomes the silence of an empty yard. This happened on a Montana ranch in the spring of 1884, where a widow named Sarah Callahan was raising her 8-year-old son alone. What follows is about the kind of help that shows up unannounced, the debt between strangers, and what we carry after loss. It's about trust when there's no reason left for it, and the quiet decision to stay when leaving would be easier. The timber groaned. Danny Callahan froze. One boot on the rotted beam, the other hanging over nothing. Below him darkness, a hole in the Montana prairie, maybe 2 feet across, ringed with gray wood that crumbled when he touched it. He'd followed a jackrabbit past the creek where Mama told him to stop, past the fence line he wasn't supposed to cross. Mid-morning sun beat down on his neck. The rabbit was long gone, but this hole pulled at him like a dare. He leaned forward, tossed a rock, counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 splash. That's when his boot slipped. The beam snapped clean through. Danny's arms windmilled once. Then he was falling into the dark, and the circle of blue sky above got smaller and smaller until it was just a distant coin of light. And then he hit something hard and the world went white with pain. Stories like this used to be told on front porches across ranch country. If this one reached you today, I'd be grateful to know where it found you, Montana, Texas, or wherever you call home. Danny couldn't breathe. His chest wouldn't work. He opened his mouth and nothing came in. The ledge under him was dirt and sharp rocks, and his left shoulder felt wrong, not just hurt, but shaped wrong, like something had moved that shouldn't move. He tried to lift his arm. White light exploded behind his eyes. The taste of a copper filled his mouth. He'd bitten his tongue when he hit. Above him, the circle of sky was impossibly far away. The shaft walls pressed close on all sides, damp limestone that smelled like the root cellar back home. He sucked in air finally. It came in a sob. "Mama." His voice didn't carry. It hit the walls and died. He tried again. Louder. "Mama." The echo mocked him. "Mama, mama, mama." His shoulder throbbed with his heartbeat. He touched it with his right hand and felt the bone pushing up under the skin where it shouldn't be. He jerked his hand away. "Don't move it. Don't move it. Don't." A rock came loose above him and clattered down the shaft. Danny pressed himself flat against the ledge. The rock hit 3 feet to his left and kept falling. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4 splash. The ledge under him shifted. Just an inch, but he felt it. Cracks spiderwebbed out from where his weight rested. He could see them in the dim light from above, thin lines spreading like frost on a window. He stopped breathing again. Stayed perfectly still. The ledge held. Sarah called his name from the porch around noon. Nothing. She checked the cabin. His bed was empty. Covers thrown back. The kitchen breakfast dishes still on the table, her coffee gone cold in the tin cup. She went to the barn. The buckskin mare stood in her stall, tail swishing at flies. The chickens pecked in their yard. "Danny." Her voice came out wrong, too high. She walked faster now, checking the chicken coop, the root cellar, the outhouse. Nothing. The pump, the vegetable patch where she'd asked him to pull weeds. There, in the dirt by the porch steps. His boot print. Small. Heading north. She followed the tracks at a run. They led past the well, past the fence line she'd told him not to cross, past the creek. The grass was trampled where he'd walked. The land sloped down here. She'd told him to stay close. Then she saw the disturbed earth, the broken timber, the hole. She dropped to her knees at the edge. "Danny." A weak voice floated up from the darkness. "Mama, I can't move my arm." Sarah thrust her arm into the shaft. Her fingertips touched nothing but cold air. She stretched further. Her shoulder pressed against the rim, still nothing. The opening was too narrow. She couldn't fit through. She tried anyway, forced her shoulders into the gap. The limestone scraped her collarbone. Her hips caught. Below her, Danny's voice came again, smaller this time. "Mama, the rocks keep falling." Sarah pulled herself out of the shaft opening and sat back hard in the dirt. Her hands were shaking. She looked at them like they belonged to someone else. The rope. She had rope on the saddle. She ran to where she'd left the buckskin mare grazing, grabbed the lariat coiled on the saddle horn. 40 feet of hemp, braided tight. She ran back, boots slipping on the loose earth. "Danny, I'm going to lower a rope. Can you grab it?" "I think so." She fed the rope down into the darkness. The end disappeared into the black. She waited. Counted to 10. "Can you see it?" "No." She pulled it up, measured it against her body. The rope was 40 feet. The bottom of the shaft had to be deeper than that. She'd heard the rock fall for 5 seconds before it hit water. Her throat closed. "Mama, I'm here. Baby, I'm right here." She lay flat on her stomach again, peered into the hole. The circle of Danny's face was pale below, looking up at her. She could barely see him in the dim light. "Don't move. You hear me? Stay still. It hurts." I know it does." She stood up, turned in a slow circle. The prairie stretched in every direction. No smoke from a chimney, no dust from a wagon, nothing but grass and sage and the line of cottonwoods marking the creek a quarter-mile south. The Hendersons' ranch was 8 miles east. Town was 12 miles south. If she rode for help, Danny would be alone for what? 2 hours 3. What if the ledge collapsed while she was gone? What if something else fell in? She thought of the coyotes that came down from the hills at dusk. Thought of the rattlesnakes that lived in the rocks. Thought of how the temperature would drop when the sun went down. How Danny was wearing just a cotton shirt and canvas pants. Her hands curled into fists. She couldn't leave him. She couldn't reach him. She couldn't hoof beats. Sarah's head snapped up. A rider was coming over the eastern rise. Single horse, gray. The man sat loose in the saddle, hat pulled low against the afternoon sun. She'd never seen him before. Her hand went to the revolver in her apron pocket. Tom's old Colt. She'd carried it every day since he died. Her fingers closed around the grip. The rider came closer. He was lean, maybe 45, trail dust on his vest and shirt, a bedroll tied behind the saddle. He looked like a man who'd been riding a long time and planned to keep riding. He reined in 20 feet away, studied her, then looked at the broken timbers around the hole. "Ma'am?" Sarah pulled the revolver halfway out of her pocket. Stopped. The man's hands were on his saddle horn, nowhere near the rifle in the scabbard at his knee. "My son's down there." Her voice came out rough. "He fell. I can't reach him." The man dismounted slow, didn't ask permission, just walked past her to the edge of the shaft and knelt, took off his hat, peered down into the darkness. "How deep?" he asked. 15 feet. Maybe more. The opening's too narrow. I can't fit through." He pulled a match from his vest pocket, struck it on his belt buckle, held it over the hole. The light flickered down the shaft walls for 3 seconds before the flame died. "What's your name?" he called down. A small voice floated up. "Danny." "How old are you?" "Danny." 8. "Where's it hurt?" "My shoulder. I can't move my left arm." The man stood up, looked at Sarah. His eyes were gray, set deep. There were lines around them like he'd spent years squinting into the sun. "You got rope." Sarah pointed to the lariat lying in the dirt. 40 feet. It's not long enough. "Need more?" "Got lumber. Fence posts in the barn. Canvas, flour sacks." He put his hat back on, started walking toward the barn without asking which direction. Sarah followed, still gripping the revolver in her pocket. "Who are you?" Ezra Boone. Where you from? South. That was all he said. They reached the barn. He pushed the door open. The hinges screamed. Inside, shadows and the smell of hay and old manure. Sarah's milk cow stood in the back stall, chewing. Ezra walked the length of the barn, took inventory. The walls were lined with tools, most of them rusted. A coil of rope hung on a peg. He lifted it down, tested the strength, nodded. "This'll work." He grabbed a handsaw from the wall, walked to where Sarah had fence posts stacked against the west wall, selected 3, carried them outside into the light, laid them flat, started cutting. Sarah stood there watching him work. His movements were efficient, no wasted motion. The saw moved back and forth, teeth biting into the wood. "You done mine work?" she asked. "Some. Colorado. 10 years back." He finished the first cut, moved to the second post. Sarah's hands twitched at her sides. She needed to do something. Anything. "What do you need me to do?" "Get that canvas, cut it into strips, 2 feet wide." She ran to the cabin. Found the flour sacks stacked in the kitchen. Grabbed Tom's Barlow knife from the drawer, started cutting. The canvas was thick. The knife blade was dull. She sawed through it anyway. When she came back outside, Ezra had finished cutting the posts into 3-foot sections. He was splicing the ropes together now. His fingers moved fast, tying knots she didn't recognize. "How long you been out here?" he asked. 11 months, since my husband died." Ezra didn't look up from the rope. "Just you and the boy." "Just us." He pulled the knot tight, tested it, started on the next splice. Sarah knelt beside him, handed him the canvas strips. "Will this work? Should." He looked at her then. His face was weathered, lined. "Ma'am, I'll do my best. That's all I can promise." Sarah's jaw clenched. She wanted a guarantee. She wanted someone to tell her Danny would be fine, that everything would work. Ezra stood up, coiled the rope over his shoulder. "Let's go." They walked back to the shaft. Sarah called down. "Danny, we're going to get you out." No answer. "Danny." Still nothing. Sarah's heart stopped. She dropped to her knees, thrust her face over the edge. "Danny." A weak voice. "I'm here. Mama, I was sleeping." The breath went out of her. Ezra was tying the rope around his chest, making a harness out of it. He looked at Sarah. "You got a horse that can hold weight." "The buckskin." "Bring her over." Sarah ran, grabbed the mare's reins, led her back. Ezra tied the rope to the saddle horn, wrapped it twice, tied it off. "I'm going down. You hold the mare steady. If I yell, you back her up slow. Understand?" Sarah nodded. Ezra tested his weight on the rope. The mare shifted, but held. He walked backward to the edge of the shaft, looked down into the darkness. Then he lowered himself over the side and disappeared. The rope scraped against the limestone. Ezra's boots hit the shaft wall, found purchase, pushed off. He dropped another 2 feet. The circle of light above him shrank. Sarah's face appeared at the edge, looking down. Her voice echoed, "You all right? Keep the mare steady." He lowered himself, hand over hand. The walls pressed close on both sides. His shoulders brushed the limestone. Water seeped through the rock, cold against his shirt. The smell of damp earth filled his nose thick, mineral, old, 10 feet down. The shaft narrowed. He had to turn sideways to fit through. The rope bit into his chest. His breath came shorter. 12 feet, 14. Then his boots touched something solid. "I'm down," he called up. He felt around with his feet. The ledge was maybe 3 feet wide, uneven. Dirt and loose rock. He tested his weight. The ledge held, barely. "Danny!" A small shape moved in the darkness to his left. "I'm here." Ezra pulled the coal oil lamp from his belt. Sarah had given it to him, already lit in a pierced tin bucket. He held it up. The flame guttered in the draft from above. Oh. Then steadied. The boy was pressed against the shaft wall. His face was pale, streaked with dirt, left arm cradled against his chest. His eyes were wide, pupils huge in the lamplight. "You're Ezra. That's right. You're going to get me out. Going to try." Ezra set the lamp on the ledge, moved closer, knelt beside the boy. "Let me see that arm." Danny flinched back. "It hurts real bad." "I know, but I need to see what we're working with." The boy bit his lip, nodded. Ezra touched the shoulder carefully. Danny sucked in air through his teeth. The collarbone was broken clean through. Ezra could feel the two ends of the bone displaced. One pushed up higher than the other. The skin over it was swollen, hot to the touch. "When'd you fall?" "I don't know. The sun was overhead." "Few hours ago, then." The swelling would be worse now. Moving the boy could make the break worse. Could puncture something important if the bone shifted wrong. Ezra looked at the ledge under them, ran his hand along the limestone. His fingers found cracks, thin lines spiderwebbing out from where Danny's weight rested. Some of them were fresh, the edges still crumbling. He picked up the lamp, held it close to the wall. The cracks ran deep, disappearing into shadow. The whole ledge was fracturing. "You been sitting still?" "Mostly. I moved once. It made a sound." "What kind of sound?" "Like when ice breaks on the water trough." Ezra set the lamp down, looked up at the circle of light above. Sarah's face was there, waiting. "How is he?" she called down. "Collarbone's broken, clean through." Silence, then, "Can you bring him up?" Ezra examined the ledge again, put his weight on different sections, testing. Every spot he pressed crumbled a little, sent dirt pattering down into the deeper darkness below. "Not tonight," he called up. "What?" "The ledge is coming apart. We try to move him now. The whole thing might go." "But—" "Ma'am, I know. But we do this wrong. He falls another 20 feet into water. You hear what I'm saying? No answer for a long moment. Then, what do we do? Need to shore up this ledge, brace it proper, then make a harness for the boy so we can lift him without moving that shoulder too much. How long? Rest of today, maybe into tomorrow. Need to do it right." Ezra turned back to Danny. The boy was shaking now, probably shock setting in. The shaft was cold down here, temperature dropping as afternoon wore on. "You cold?" Danny nodded. Ezra shrugged out of his sheepskin coat. The leather was stiff, greasy from years of wear, smelled like horse and sweat and wood smoke. He draped it over the boy's shoulders. "There. That'll help some. What about you?" "I'll be all right. I'm going back up now. Need more timber, and something to make a sling for you. Don't leave me here. Your mama's right up there. She ain't going anywhere, and I'll be back down soon as I can. You understand?" Danny nodded. His teeth were chattering. Ezra stood, tested the rope, called up, "I'm coming back up. You ready?" "Ready?" He grabbed the rope with both hands, put his weight on it. Pull. The rope went taut. He walked his feet up the shaft wall, hand over hand. The limestone scraped his knuckles raw. His shoulders burned from the angle. Halfway up, his boot slipped. He swung sideways, slammed into the wall. The impact knocked the air from his lungs. "You all right?" Sarah's voice. Sharp. "Keep pulling." He found his footing again, climbed. His hands were slick now, blood or sweat. He couldn't tell. The rope burned through his palms. Then his hand broke into sunlight. Sarah grabbed his wrist, hauled him over the edge. He collapsed onto the grass, chest heaving. She was talking fast. Can we, what do you need?" Ezra held up one hand, got his breath back, sat up. He's strong. Scared, but strong. The break is bad, but I've seen worse. Main problem is that ledge. It's ready to go. Sarah's face had gone white. "How long before it collapses?" "No way to know. Could be tonight. Could be 3 days. We can't wait to find out." So, what do we do? Ezra stood up. His legs were shaky, walked to his horse, untied his bedroll. Inside 2 wool blankets, a tin cup, a straight razor, and a leather pouch of jerky. He pulled out the blankets, handed one to Sarah. Get me fence posts, 6 of them, good straight ones, and that canvas you mentioned. Sarah ran toward the barn. Ezra looked at the buckskin mare. She was watching him with dark eyes, ears forward. Good horse. Steady. He untied the rope from her saddle horn, started coiling it, checking for weak spots. His hands were torn up from the descent. Blood seeped through the rope burns. Sarah came back carrying fence posts across her shoulders. Her face was red from the effort. Ezra took them from her, laid them out in a row. Got a saw. In the barn. Bring it, and a hammer if you got one. She ran again. Ezra knelt by the shaft edge. Danny, you hear me? Yeah. We're working up here. Going to be some noise. Don't worry about it. Okay. You stay still. Don't move unless you have to. I won't. Sarah returned with the saw and a claw hammer. The handle was cracked, wrapped with wire to hold it together. Ezra took the saw, started cutting the fence posts into 3-foot sections. The blade was dull. It took real pressure to make each stroke bite. Sarah stood there watching. Her hands opened and closed at her sides. There is something you need to be doing, Ezra asked. Like what? Food, water. The boy's going to need both. She blinked, nodded, turned, and walked toward the cabin. Ezra kept sawing. The sun was lower now, maybe 2 hours from setting. They had maybe 3 hours of good light left. 4, if they were lucky. He finished cutting the first post, started on the second. Sweat ran down his back despite the cooling air. His hands ached. The rope burns on his palms split open fresh with each stroke of the saw. Sarah came back with a tin bucket. Inside, bread wrapped in cloth, a jar of water with a cork stopper, an apple cut into slices. That's good, Ezra said. She tied the bucket to the end of the rope, lowered it down carefully. Danny, there's food coming down. I got it. Mama. They heard him moving below. The rope went slack. Pull it up slow, Ezra said. Sarah hauled the bucket up. It was empty except for the jar still half full. Danny, she called down, you need to drink more. I'm not that thirsty. Drink it anyway. All of it. Silence. Then they heard him uncork the jar, heard him swallow, heard him cough. Good, Sarah said. Her voice was softer now. Ezra finished cutting all 6 posts. He laid them out, examined each one. 2 had cracks running through them. He set those aside, took the other 4. I'm going down again, he said. Going to brace that ledge before the light's gone. Sarah looked at the sky. The sun was touching the western hills now, maybe an hour of light left. You can't see down there once the sun sets. Got the lamp? The oil's half gone. Ezra looked at her. You got more? In the cabin. Bring it. She ran, came back with a small jug. Ezra took it, tied it to his belt along with the lamp, picked up the cut fence posts, balanced them across his shoulders. The weight made him grunt. Sarah tied the rope around his chest again. This time he looped it different under his arms, across his back, up over his shoulders. The weight of the posts made it harder to balance. You ready? Sarah asked. As I'll be. He backed to the edge of the shaft, looked down into the gathering darkness. Danny's face was barely visible now, just a pale shape in the shadows. Then Ezra stepped over the edge and dropped into the dark. The fence posts scraped against the shaft walls as Ezra descended. He had 2 of them balanced across his shoulders, the other 2 tied to his belt with canvas strips. The weight threw him off balance. He spun slowly on the rope, boots scrambling for purchase on the slick limestone. Easy, he called up. Slow. Sarah's voice came down. I got you. The posts caught on a jutting rock. Ezra twisted, freed them, kept descending. His shoulders burned from the angle. The rope bit deep into his chest, cutting off his breath in short gasps. His hands were already raw from the first descent. Now the hemp tore the wounds open fresh. Danny's voice floated up from below. "I can see you." "Good. Stay right where you are." Ezra's boots touched the ledge. He transferred his weight carefully, testing each section before committing. The ledge held. He untied the posts from his belt, laid them flat, rolled his shoulders. The muscles were already seizing up. "You all right?" he asked Danny. "Cold." "I know. Won't be much longer." Ezra picked up the lamp, held it close to where the ledge met the shaft wall. The cracks were worse than before, wider, deeper. Some of them disappeared into the rock face. He pressed his hand against one section, felt it shift under his palm. A piece the size of his fist broke off, tumbled into the darkness below. They had hours, maybe less. He wedged the first post horizontally against the wall, bracing the underside of the ledge, used the claw hammer to drive it tight. The sound echoed up the shaft metal on wood, sharp and hollow. He fitted the second post perpendicular to the first, creating a cross brace. His hands were shaking now. He had to stop twice to wipe blood off the hammer handle. "What are you doing?" Danny asked. "Making sure this ledge don't fall. Will it work?" "Should." Ezra drove the third post in at an angle, forming a triangle of support. The hammer slipped, barked his knuckles against the limestone. He gritted his teeth, kept working, drove the fourth post in tight against the shaft wall. He tested his weight on the braced section. It held solid now, the posts taking the load off the crumbling limestone. He sat back, breathing hard. His ribs ached where the rope had cut in during the descent. "That's better," he said. He refilled the lamp from the jug Sarah had sent down. The coal oil sloshed, nearly empty already, maybe another hour of light in it. He turned the wick down to conserve what was left. Danny was shivering again under the sheepskin coat. The coat had slipped off one shoulder. Ezra pulled it back up, tucked it around the boy. "You staying down here?" Danny asked. "Gotta go back up. Need more rope and canvas to make you a proper sling." "I don't want you to go. Your mama's up there. She ain't going anywhere." "But what if—" "No, what ifs. You just sit tight." Ezra grabbed the rope. His palms screamed when he closed his hands around the hemp. Called up, "I'm ready." The rope went taut. He walked his feet up the shaft wall, hand over hand. The lamp swung from his belt, flame guttering. His arms shook from fatigue. Halfway up, his right hand cramped. He had to switch to leading with his left. The raw burns split open deeper. Blood made the rope slippery. Then he was over the edge, collapsing onto the grass. The sun had set. Purple twilight filled the prairie. Stars were starting to show. Sarah knelt beside him. "Is he—" "The ledge is braced. It'll hold for now." "For now." Ezra sat up. His whole body hurt. Looked at her. "Ma'am, I can't make you promises I can't keep. That ledge is bad, real bad. We need to get him out soon. Tonight. Not in the dark, not without better rigging. We work through what's left of the light, get everything ready, pull him out at first light tomorrow." Sarah's jaw clenched. "He's scared down there." "I know. He's hurt. I know that too." "Then why?" "Because if we do this wrong, he dies. You understand? We get one chance. Maybe two if we're lucky. I won't waste it because we're in a hurry." Sarah turned away. Her shoulders were rigid. Ezra thought she might be crying, but couldn't tell in the failing light. He stood up, legs unsteady, walked to his horse, untied the bedroll, pulled out the wool blankets, carried them to the shaft edge. "Danny, I'm sending down blankets." "Okay." He tied them to the rope, lowered them slow, felt the weight lift when Danny grabbed them. "You wrap up good now. Keep warm." "I will." Ezra pulled the rope back up, looked at Sarah. We need to build a fire. Needs to be close so the boy can see the light, but not so close that sparks go down the hole." She nodded, walked to the woodpile by the cabin, came back with an armload of split cottonwood. They built the fire 15 feet from the shaft opening, close enough for Danny to see the glow, far enough for safety. Ezra struck a match. His hands were shaking so bad it took 3 tries. The kindling caught. Flames licked up through the wood. Orange light pushed back the darkness. "Better," he called down. "You see that, Danny?" "Yeah, I can see it." "Good. We'll keep it going all night." Sarah sat by the fire, stared into the flames. Ezra walked back to the barn. His leg was hurting now, where he'd pulled something during the descent. He limped. Found the old pulley system she'd mentioned, a block and tackle setup that looked like it came from when they dug the well. The rope was frayed, but the pulley still turned. He carried it back to the fire, sat down heavy, started working the frayed sections free, splicing in new rope where he could. His hands were clumsy now. Fatigue made his fingers thick. Sarah watched him. "Where'd you learn to do that?" Here and there. "That's not an answer. It's the one you're getting." Her hands twisted in her lap. "I need to know you can do this." Ezra tied off a splice, tested it. "I worked mines in Colorado for 3 years, saw 2 cave-ins, pulled men out of both, lost some, saved others." He looked at her. "I know what I'm doing, but I can't control everything. That ledge is going to go whether we're ready or not. So we might lose him anyway. We might—" Sarah's breath caught. She put her hand over her mouth. Ezra went back to work on the rope. The fire crackled. Wind moved through the grass, carrying the smell of sage and dust and the creek water downstream. After a while, Sarah spoke again. Her voice was low. "My husband died last winter. Pneumonia. Went fast. 3 days from first cough to—" She stopped. "I couldn't do anything. Just watched him go." Ezra said nothing. Kept working the rope. "I can't watch Danny go too." "Then help me. Go to the cabin. Get every piece of rope you got. Canvas sacking. Leather strips if you got them. Anything we can use to make a harness." Sarah stood up. Stood. Walked toward the cabin. Her steps were steady now, purposeful. Ezra fed more wood to the fire. Looked down into the shaft. The lamplight was dim down there, the flame barely visible. Another hour at most before it went out. "You still awake, Danny?" "Yeah." "Tell me something. You got any brothers or sisters?" "No, just me." "Your pa taught you to ride?" "Some. Mama don't like me going far." "That's smart of her." Ezra paused. "You ever see wild horses?" "Once. Papa took me up to the hills. There was a whole herd." "What'd they look like?" "Fast. Real fast." "That's the truth. I caught me a Mustang once. Took near 2 months to break him proper. Mean creature. Threw me in a creek first time I tried to mount him." Danny's laugh floated up. Weak, but there. "Did you keep him?" the boy asked. "For a while. Then I sold him to a cavalry officer. Needed the money. I bet he was pretty. Ugliest horse I ever saw. Had a scar down his face from fighting, but he could run." Sarah came back with an armload of supplies. Rope, canvas, leather straps from old tack. She dumped it all beside the fire. Ezra picked through it, selected the strongest pieces. "This'll work." He cut the canvas into a long rectangle, folded it double for strength, punched holes along the edges with his knife, threaded rope through the holes, creating a cradle with long leads. "This goes around him," he explained. "Under his arms, across his back, the leads tie to the main rope, takes the weight off that shoulder. Will it hold? If we tie it right." They worked together. Sarah cut rope to length while Ezra tied knots. The fire burned down to coals. Ezra added more wood. The stars wheeled overhead. Coyotes yipped from the hills to the west. "You got coffee?" Ezra asked. "In the cabin." "Make some. Going to be a long night." Sarah left. came back with a tin pot and 2 cups. The coffee was bitter, scorched from sitting too long on the stove. Ezra drank it anyway, his hands wrapped around the hot cup, trying to get warmth back into them. "What time is it?" Sarah asked. "Near midnight, I'd guess." "How long until first light?" 5 hours, maybe 6. Sarah looked at the shaft. "Danny, you sleeping?" No answer. "Danny." Still nothing. Sarah stood up fast, walked to the edge. "Danny." A small voice. "I'm here, Mama. I was sleeping." "Don't do that. Answer me when I call." "I'm sorry." Sarah's hands were shaking. She shoved them in her apron pockets. Came back to the fire, sat down hard. "He needs to sleep," Ezra said. "So do you." "I can't." "Then sit. Drink your coffee." They sat in silence. The fire popped. Sparks rose into the darkness and died. "Why'd you stop?" Sarah asked. "Stop what?" "When you heard us, you were riding through. Could have kept going." Ezra stared into the flames. Didn't answer for a long time, then had a daughter. She was 6 when the fever took her. I was 3 days' ride away, working. Didn't make it back in time. He picked up a stick, poked at the coals. "So, when I heard you calling for your boy, I stopped." Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. They worked through the rest of the night, testing the harness, checking the ropes. Ezra's hands were shaking so bad now he could barely tie knots. Sarah had to help him finish the last splice. The eastern sky started to lighten. Gray first, then pink. Ezra stood at the shaft edge, looked down. Danny was awake, huddled in the blankets. The lamp had gone out. "You ready, son?" "I think so." Ezra turned to Sarah. "Get the horse. We're bringing him up now." The crack came loud. Then a sound like tearing cloth. "Stop!" Ezra shouted. "Stop the horse!" Sarah yanked the bridle. The buckskin froze. The rope went slack for half a second, then snapped tight again. Danny swung sideways in the canvas harness, hit the shaft wall hard. His scream echoed up. "Mama!" Ezra leaned over the edge. Danny was spinning on the rope 10 feet down. The canvas harness twisted under his arms. Rocks rained down from above where the rope had scraped the limestone rim. Below Danny, one of the bracing posts had split clean through. The ledge sagged at a steep angle, dirt sliding off into the black. "Don't move," Ezra called down. "Just hang there. It hurts my shoulder." "I know. Hold on." The rope was caught on something. Ezra could see it now wedged behind a jutting rock where the shaft narrowed at 8 feet. Every time the horse pulled, the rope ground against the limestone edge, fraying itself slowly. "Sarah, ease the horse forward. Give him some slack." She led the buckskin forward to 3 steps. The rope loosened. Danny dropped 6 inches. His scream was sharper this time, cut off fast like he'd run out of air. "Stop right there." The rope held. Danny hung motionless, spinning slowly. The canvas harness was digging into his armpits. His left arm dangled at the wrong angle, the broken collarbone visible as a lump under his shirt. Ezra grabbed the rope with both hands, tried to lift, take some of the weight off. The hemp cut into his palms, reopening the burns from yesterday. Blood made his grip slippery. His arms shook. He couldn't hold it. "Can you pull him?" Sarah asked. Her voice was high, tight. "The rope's fouled. Caught on the rock. I pull him up. It'll saw right through. So, what do we—" Another crack from below. The second bracing post gave way. The ledge collapsed entirely, falling into the darkness. They heard it hit bottom 5 seconds later, a splash, then silence. Danny wasn't screaming now, just breathing fast, panicked little gasps that Ezra could hear from the surface. "Danny, listen to me," Ezra said. His voice was calm, level. "You're on the rope. The rope is holding you. You hear me? I can't." "Yes, you can." Just breathe. In and out. Ezra looked at Sarah. Her face was white as flour. We gotta get that rope free, he said quietly. How? I go down, climb on the wall side, get below the snag, guide him past it. The rope won't hold both of you. Ain't got another choice. He grabbed the lariat coiled by the fire, tied it around his chest in a quick harness. His hands were shaking so bad the knot took 3 tries, handed the end to Sarah. You tie this to the saddle horn. Keep tension on both ropes. Ezra, do it. She ran to the horse, tied the lariat off with shaking hands, came back. Her eyes were red but dry. Ezra sat on the shaft edge, swung his legs over. When I say pull, you back that horse up slow and steady. Don't stop unless I tell you. All right. He pushed off, dropped straight down the shaft, boots scraping the walls. The lariat went tight, cut into his ribs. He couldn't breathe right. His vision grayed at the edges. Didn't matter. Danny was 5 feet below him now, hanging limp in the harness. The boy's eyes were closed. Danny. No response. Danny, open your eyes. The boy's eyelids fluttered. I want Mama. I know. We're going to get you to her, but I need you to stay awake. Ezra reached out, grabbed the main rope above where Danny hung, pulled himself closer. The shaft was narrow here, maybe 18 inches across. He braced his boots on opposite walls. His legs trembled from the strain. The fouled section was 2 feet above Danny's head. The rope had wedged behind a limestone protrusion, the rock edge cutting into the hemp fibers. Half of them were already severed. The rest looked ready to snap. Sarah, I need slack on the main rope. How much? 3 feet. He heard the horse move forward. The rope loosened. Danny dropped fast. Ezra caught him with one arm, held him against his chest. The boy's weight threw him off balance. His left boot slipped off the wall. He swung out, the lariat digging into his ribs like a dull knife. I got you, Ezra said into Danny's hair. The boy smelled like sweat and limestone dust and fear. I got you. He found his footing again, worked the fouled rope free from behind the rock with his other hand. It took 3 tries. His fingers were numb, clumsy. The rope came loose all at once. Danny's full weight hit the harness. The canvas strips creaked, but held. Okay, Ezra shouted up. His voice came out hoarse. Pull slow. The rope went tight. Danny started rising. Ezra kept his arm around the boy, guiding him past the jutting rock. They moved together, inch by inch. The shaft wall scraped Ezra's shoulders. His boots walked up the limestone, found holds, pushed off. Every step sent pain through his pulled leg muscle. 5 feet, 7 feet, 10. Danny's breathing was shallow now, rapid. His eyes rolled back, showing white. Stay with me, son. Almost there. 12 feet, 14. Ezra's hand broke into sunlight. Sarah grabbed his wrist, pulled hard. He heaved Danny up over the edge first. The boy collapsed on the grass like a rag doll. Sarah dropped beside him, hands hovering over him, not sure where to touch without hurting. Ezra pulled himself out, lay on his back, gasping. His ribs felt cracked where the lariat had cut in. Every breath was a knife sliding between the bones. Is he? Sarah's voice broke. Ezra rolled over, crawled to where Danny lay. The boy's eyes were half open, unfocused. His breathing was rapid and shallow, barely moving his chest. The left shoulder was grotesquely swollen now, the broken bone pushing up under the skin in a sharp ridge. The skin over it was purple, mottled. He's in shock, Ezra said. His own voice sounded far away. We need to get him warm, inside. Sarah scooped Danny up, cradled him against her chest like he weighed nothing, ran toward the cabin. Ezra followed, stumbling. His legs barely worked. The pulled muscle in his thigh screamed with each step. Inside. Sarah laid Danny on her bed, pulled quilts over him. The boy was shaking hard, teeth chattering so loud Ezra could hear them from across the room. His lips had a blue tint. The cold was inside him now, the shock fighting his body's attempts to warm itself. "Get the fire going," Ezra said. "Hot as you can." Sarah fed kindling into the wood stove, blew on the coals until flames caught, added larger pieces. The stove ticked as it heated. Ezra knelt beside the bed, checked Danny's pulse rapid, thready, barely there under his fingertips, lifted his eyelids, pupils responsive but sluggish, taking too long to contract. Pressed his hand to Danny's forehead. The skin was cool and clammy. "Danny, can you hear me?" The boy's lips moved. No sound came out. "We need to set that collarbone," Ezra said, looked at Sarah. "Now." She turned from the stove. Her face was gray. "Now. Right now, before the swelling gets worse, before he's too weak." "Will it hurt him?" "Yes." Sarah's jaw clenched. She came to the bed, knelt on the other side. "What do I do?" "Hold his right shoulder down. Keep him still." She placed both hands on Danny's good shoulder, pressed down firm. The boy's eyes opened wider, tried to focus on her face. "Mama, I'm here, baby, right here." Ezra felt along the collarbone, located the break. The bone ends were displaced maybe 2 inches, one riding up over the other. He'd have to pull the arm, manipulate them back into rough alignment. There was no good way to do this, no way to make it not hurt. "You bite down on this," he told Danny. Gave him a folded piece of leather from his belt, part of an old rein. Danny's teeth closed on it. His eyes were wide now, seeing everything. "On 3, Ezra said. 1, he pulled on 2, fast. The bone ends grated against each other. The sound was like grinding stones. Danny's scream was muffled by the leather but still filled the cabin. His body arched off the bed. Sarah held him down, her own face twisted, tears running down her cheeks. Ezra felt the bones slide back into rough alignment. Not perfect, never would be without a real surgeon, but better. Enough for the bone to heal crooked instead of not at all. He took his hands away quickly. Danny went limp. His eyes rolled back. The leather fell from his mouth. Sarah grabbed her son's face. "Danny, Danny. He's out. That's better for him." Ezra stood. His own legs were shaking. Walked to Sarah's sewing basket on the table, found strips of cloth, came back to the bed. "We need to splint this. Hold his shoulder steady." They worked together. Ezra placed 2 pieces of flat wood broken fence slats on either side of the collarbone. Sarah wrapped cloth strips around them, binding them tight. Her hands were steady now, mechanical. Danny didn't wake, didn't move. When they finished, Ezra stepped back, wiped sweat from his face with the back of his hand, left a smear of blood. The cabin was warm now, heat radiating from the stove that made his head swim. "He going to be all right?" Sarah asked. "Bone should heal. 6 weeks, maybe 8, could be longer. And if it don't, then he'll have a crooked shoulder. He'll be able to use the arm, but it won't work right. Might hurt when it rains." Ezra paused. "But he'll live." Sarah sat on the bed, put her hand on Danny's forehead. His skin was warmer now. The blue tint was fading from his lips. His breathing had slowed, deepened. Real sleep instead of shock. "There's willow bark in the cupboard," she said. "For fever." Ezra found it, made tea in a tin cup. They managed to get some down Danny's throat. He swallowed reflexively, still unconscious. Some of it ran down his chin. Sarah wiped it away with her apron. The sun was full up now, light streaming through the cabin's single window. Ezra looked around. 2 rooms. That was it. Kitchen and bedroom combined, with a lean-to storage area in back. The furniture was sparse, handmade. Everything showed signs of hard use. A photograph hung on the wall, a man and woman on their wedding day. The woman was Sarah, younger. The man beside her was tall, broad-shouldered. "That's Tom," Sarah said. She was watching Ezra look at the photo. "He built this place. Him and his brother. Brother moved to California 5 years back. Hasn't written since." Ezra nodded, sat down heavily in the chair by the stove. His whole body ached. The rope burns on his hands were seeping blood through the dried scabs. His ribs throbbed with each breath. The pulled muscle in his leg felt like it was tearing with every small movement. "You hurt?" Sarah asked. "I'll live." "Let me see." She came over, lifted his shirt before he could protest. His ribs were purple with bruising where the lariat had cut in, the skin broken in places. She touched the worst spot gently. He flinched hard, couldn't stop it. "Nothing broken," he said through gritted teeth. "You don't know that." "I know what broken ribs feel like." She went to the basin, wet a cloth with water from the pump bucket, came back and started cleaning the blood off his hands. The rope burns were deep, down to raw meat in places. She found a tin of salve in the cupboard lard mixed with something that smelled like pine, spread it on the wounds. Her hands were gentle but efficient. "You done this before," Ezra said. "Tom hurt himself regular. Kicked by horses, caught in wire, cut by tools, ranch work. Hard life. It's the only one I got." She wrapped cloth strips around his palms, tied them off. Ezra flexed his fingers. The bandages were too tight, but he didn't say anything. Didn't matter. Danny stirred on the bed, opened his eyes. They were clearer now. "Mama." Sarah was beside him in 2 steps. "I'm here." "My shoulder hurts different now. That's because we set the bone. It'll heal proper. Is Mr. Boone still here?" "Right here, son," Ezra said from the chair. Danny turned his head, looked at Ezra. "You got me out. We both did. Your mama, too." "Thank you." Ezra nodded. His throat was tight. Couldn't trust himself to speak. The morning wore on. Sarah made coffee, fried salt pork in the iron skillet. They ate in silence. Danny slept. Woke. Drank water. Slept again. By afternoon, color had come back to the boy's face. He asked for food. Sarah gave him broth from yesterday's beans. He kept it down, but when she unwrapped the bandages to check the break, her hands stopped moving. The skin around the collarbone was hot, angry red, and when she pressed gently, a bead of yellow pus oozed from where the bone had pushed through the skin during the fall. 3 days passed. Danny's fever wouldn't break. It climbed at night, dropped at dawn, then climbed again by afternoon. Sarah bathed his face with cold water from the well, made him drink willow bark tea until he gagged on it. Nothing helped. The 4th morning, she unwrapped the bandages to check the collarbone. The skin around the break was hot to the touch, angry red, spreading outward in streaks. When she pressed gently, yellow pus oozed from a small opening where the bone had torn through. Her hands stopped moving. Ezra was filling the wood box by the stove. He looked over, saw her face, came to the bed. "Let me see." Sarah moved aside. Ezra bent close, smelled the wound, straightened up. "Infections set in." "I kept it clean. I did everything." "I know you did. Sometimes it don't matter." Danny stirred, opened his eyes. They were glassy, unfocused. "Mama, I'm cold." She pulled another quilt over him. He was burning up. The cold was inside him, the fever fighting itself. "What do we do?" Sarah's voice came out flat. "Clean it. Deep. Get the poison out." "How?" Ezra went to the stove. Put his knife blade in the flames. Boil water. Get me clean cloth. Whiskey if you got it. "I don't have whiskey." "Then just the cloth." Sarah's hands shook as she worked the pump. Water splashed over the sides of the pot. She set it on the stove, grabbed cloth from the drawer, her sewing scissors, Tom's straight razor she'd kept wrapped in oilcloth. Ezra took the knife from the flames. The blade glowed dull red. He set it on the table to cool. washed his hands in the basin, scrubbed them hard enough to reopen the rope burns. "You're going to want to hold him down," he said. "He's already weak. Don't matter? Body does strange things when you cut into it." Sarah positioned herself at Danny's head, put her hands on his shoulders, the good one and the one with the splint still bound tight. Danny looked up at her. "Mama, what's happening? Mr. Boone needs to clean your shoulder. It's going to hurt." "I don't want him to. I know, baby, but we have to." Ezra unwrapped the bandages completely. The wound was worse than Sarah had seen. The small opening had spread, edges black. The pus was thick, greenish now. The smell made her gag sweet and rotten at the same time. He poured boiling water over the wound. Danny screamed. His back arched off the bed. Sarah pressed down with all her weight. The boy was stronger than she thought. His good arm flailed, caught Ezra across the face. Ezra grabbed the arm, pinned it. "Hold him." Sarah leaned her full weight on Danny's shoulders, felt something give under her hands. Couldn't think about it. Just held. Ezra poured more water. The pus ran down Danny's chest, mixed with blood and clear fluid. He picked up the knife. The blade had cooled to gray. He pressed the tip into the wound opening. Danny's scream went higher, inhuman. The sound filled the cabin, bounced off the walls. His body went rigid, then limp. "Danny!" Sarah's voice cracked. "He passed out. Better for him." Ezra cut, opened the wound wider, exposing the bone underneath. It was gray where it should be white. Wrong color. He scraped at it with the curved blade from Sarah's sewing kit. Bone fragments came away, dropped into the basin beside the bed with small clicking sounds. Sarah turned her head, breathed through her mouth. Her hands stayed on Danny's shoulders, but she couldn't watch. Ezra worked for what felt like hours. Might have been minutes. Time had stopped meaning anything. He poured carbolic acid from a brown bottle directly into the wound. The smell burned Sarah's nose, made her eyes water. When he finished, the wound was raw meat. Open. Bleeding freely now. He packed it with cloth soaked in the hot water, wrapped it tight, layer after layer. Danny didn't wake. He's breathing. Let him sleep." Sarah collapsed in the chair by the bed, put her face in her hands. Her apron was soaked with pus and blood and water. The smell clung to her. She couldn't get away from it. "I need to wash," she said to no one. She walked outside, stripped off the apron, threw it in the dirt, pumped water over her hands, scrubbed until her skin was raw. The smell stayed. Behind her, the cabin door opened. Ezra came out. He was limping worse now. His face was gray. "You hurt?" she asked. "Pulled something in my leg. Don't matter." "Everything matters." He sat on the porch step. His hands were shaking. He tried to roll a cigarette, but the tobacco spilled. He gave up, just sat there. "He's not getting better," Sarah said. "No. He needs a doctor." "Town's 12 miles. I know how far town is." She sat beside him on the step. Her own hands wouldn't stop shaking. She pressed them together hard. It didn't help. "Tom died fast," she said. 3 days? I thought that was hard. Watching him go so quick." She laughed. It came out wrong, jagged. "This is worse. Watching Danny fight it, watching him lose a little more each day." Ezra said nothing. "You got children?" she asked. Then, "Wait, you said a daughter had—" What was her name? Long silence. Then Rebecca. "That's pretty." She liked it. Said it sounded like a queen's name. Sarah wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "How'd you stand it after—" "Didn't stand it. Just kept moving. If you stop, it catches up. I can't move. Got the ranch. Got Danny. Then you fight. I'm tired of fighting." Ezra looked at her. His eyes were bloodshot. "Your boy in there is fighting. You going to quit on him?" Sarah's jaw clenched. "That ain't fair." "No, it ain't." He stood up. walked back inside without another word. Sarah sat alone on the step. The sun was high now, hot on her face. She could hear the chickens scratching in their yard, the buckskin mare whinnying from the corral. Normal sounds, like the world hadn't stopped. She thought about Tom, how he'd gone out in that blizzard after a calf that wasn't worth saving, how she'd begged him not to, how he'd kissed her forehead and gone anyway because that's what Tom did, went after things even when it made no sense. Fool, she said out loud. Then she thought about Danny going north to the pasture after she'd told him not to, following that jackrabbit right to the edge of the shaft, doing exactly what Tom would have done. Fool, she said again. Softer, she stood up, went inside. Danny was still unconscious. His breathing was shallow, rapid. The fever hadn't broken. Ezra was sitting by the stove, cleaning his knife on a rag. The blade was dark with Danny's blood. "I'm riding to town," Sarah said. Ezra looked up. "Now. Right now. Going to get the doctor. Take 6 hours at least, maybe more if he's out on calls." "I know. You can't leave the boy. You're here." Ezra set down the knife. "Ma'am, I ain't family. I ain't even— You saved his life. That makes you something." She went to the corner, pulled out Tom's rifle, checked the load, grabbed her bonnet, a canteen. Ezra stood. "Sarah?" It was the first time he'd used her name. "Let me go. You stay with Danny. You don't know where the doctor lives. I'll find him. The buckskin's worn out. Then I'll take your horse. That horse don't know you. He's liable to throw you." Sarah turned on him. "Then what do you want me to do? Sit here and watch my son die?" The words hung between them, hard, true. Ezra's face didn't change. "I'll go. You stay with Danny. If he wakes up, you need to make him drink, even if he fights you, especially if he fights you. Understand?" Sarah nodded, couldn't speak. Ezra grabbed his hat, his rifle, checked his horse's saddle. The cinch was loose. He tightened it with shaking hands, mounted, looked down at her. "I'll ride hard. Be back by nightfall." "What if the doctor won't come? I'll make him come." He kicked the horse. They took off at a gallop, heading south toward town. Dust rose behind them. Sarah watched until they disappeared over the rise. Then she went back inside, sat beside Danny's bed, took his hand. It was hot, dry, like holding a coal from the fire. "You hold on," she whispered. "You hear me? You hold on." Danny's lips moved. No sound came out. The afternoon dragged. Sarah forced water down Danny's throat. He choked, coughed it back up. She tried again, got half a cup into him. His fever climbed higher. She stripped the quilts off. His body was burning. She bathed him with cold water. It evaporated almost instantly from his skin. Steam rose from him. By sunset, his breathing changed, became rattling, wet. Sarah knew that sound, had heard it when Tom died. "No," she said. "No, you don't." She picked Danny up, cradled him in her lap. He was lighter than he should be, had lost weight these past days. She could feel his ribs. "Please," she said, not to Danny, to whoever was listening. "Please don't take him." Danny's eyes opened. For the first time in hours, they focused on her face. "Mama, I'm here, baby." "Where's Papa?" Sarah's breath caught. "Papa's gone. Remember, he was just here, told me it's all right, said it don't hurt where he is. Danny, I'm tired. Mama, real tired." "I know, but you stay awake. Mr. Boone went to get the doctor. He's coming." "That's good." Danny's eyes drifted closed. "Tell Mr. Boone thank you. You'll tell him yourself. When he gets back." No answer. Danny had gone still in her arms. Sarah shook him. "Danny, Danny, wake up." His chest rose, fell, rose again, but barely. The rattling got worse. Sarah pressed her face against his hair, rocked him like she had when he was small, sang the hymn Tom had liked. Her voice cracked on every word. The sun set. the cabin filled with shadows. She lit the lamp with one hand, still holding Danny with the other. The flame made his face look yellow, sunken. Outside, hoofbeats. Sarah looked up. Through the window, she could see two horses. Ezra's gray and a bay she didn't recognize. Two men dismounting. The door opened. Ezra came in first. Behind him, a man in a black coat, gray beard, carrying a leather bag. "This is Doc Morrison," Ezra said. The doctor came to the bed, set down his bag, put his hand on Danny's forehead, pulled back the blanket, unwrapped the bandage Ezra had put on that morning. Sarah watched his face, couldn't read it. "How long's he been like this?" the doctor asked. "Since this morning. Got worse at sunset." The doctor opened his bag, pulled out instruments Sarah didn't recognize, worked quietly, checking Danny's pulse, his breathing, looking at the wound. After a long moment, he looked at Sarah. "The infection's deep, into the bone itself. I can try to clean it again, but what?" The doctor's eyes were kind, sad. "Ma'am, even if I can stop the infection, he's very weak, weaker than any child I've seen survive this. I don't know if he has the strength left to fight through it." Sarah's hands curled into fists. "Try anyway." "I will. But you should prepare yourself." "For what?" The doctor didn't answer. Just started pulling things from his bag. Scalpels, bottles of clear liquid that smelled like the carbolic acid Ezra had used. The doctor worked through the night. Sarah held the lamp. Her arm shook from the weight, but she didn't lower it. Ezra boiled water on the stove, brought fresh cloths when the doctor asked. Danny lay unconscious on the bed, breathing in shallow gasps. Doc Morrison cut. The scalpel opened the wound wider, exposing more of the bone underneath. It was gray, mottled, wrong color all through. He scraped at it with a small curved blade. Bone fragments came away with each stroke. They dropped into the basin beside the bed with small, wet sounds. "The infection's eaten deeper than I thought," he said. His voice was level, matter of fact, like he was discussing crop prices. "I can clean what I can reach, but if it's spread to the marrow, then what?" Sarah asked. The doctor didn't answer, just kept working. His hands were steady. Old hands, scarred from years of this. He poured clear liquid from a brown bottle directly into the wound. Danny's body convulsed. His back arched off the bed. A sound came from his throat, not a scream. Something deeper. Animal. "Hold him," the doctor said. Ezra pressed down on Danny's legs. Sarah set the lamp on the bedside table, put her hands on Danny's good shoulder. The boy thrashed. His eyes opened, but didn't see anything. Just white showing. The doctor poured more liquid. The smell burned Sarah's nose, made her eyes water worse than before. Carbolic acid. She recognized it now from when Ezra had used it. Danny's body went rigid, then limp. Is he still breathing? But barely. Sarah watched his chest. It rose, stopped, rose again after too long a pause. Doc Morrison packed the wound with strips of cloth soaked in more of the acid. The smell filled the cabin. He wrapped it tight, layer after layer of clean bandaging. "That's all I can do," he said, wiped his hands on a towel. "Now we wait." For what? To see if his body can fight what's left. And if it can't? The doctor closed his bag, snapped the latches. "Then you'll want to send for a preacher, ma'am." "I'm sorry." Sarah stared at him, her hands opened and closed at her sides. "Get out." "Ma'am." "I said, get out." The doctor looked at Ezra. Ezra nodded toward the door. The doctor picked up his bag, walked out. His boots sounded loud on the porch boards. Then hoofbeats fading into the darkness. Sarah sat beside Danny's bed, put her hand on his forehead. Still burning. She dipped the cloth in cool water, wiped his face, his neck, his chest around the bandaging. "You're not dying." She told him. "You hear me? You're not." Ezra stood by the stove, stared at nothing. His shoulders were slumped, hands hanging at his sides. "He might," Ezra said quietly. "Don't." "Sarah, I said don't." She kept bathing Danny's face. The cloth warmed in her hand almost instantly from the heat of his skin. She dipped it again, wrung it out, kept working. The night stretched, hours that felt like days. Danny's breathing stayed shallow. The rattle in his chest got worse. Sarah made him drink water. He choked on it, but she persisted. Got half a cup down. Near dawn, his fever spiked higher. His skin went from hot to burning. She could feel the heat radiating off him from inches away. She stripped the blankets off, bathed his whole body with cold water. "Please," she whispered, not praying, just talking. "Please don't leave me." Ezra brought her coffee. She didn't drink it. It sat on the table, going cold. "You should rest," he said. "I'm fine." "You're not." "I'm fine." Ezra sat in the chair across from her. His face was gray with exhaustion. He looked older in the lamplight, worn down. "Rebecca died at night," he said. "I wasn't there. Her mama sent word, but I was 3 days' ride away, working a mine job. By the time I got home, she was already in the ground." Sarah looked up. "Why are you telling me this? Because I know what it's like, wanting to go back, change it. I'd give anything to have been there, to have held her hand." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You're here. That matters. It don't matter if he dies anyway." "It matters to him." Sarah turned back to Danny. His face was pale now instead of flushed. Lips cracked. She wet them with the cloth. "I can't lose him too," she said. "I can't." "I know." The sun came up. Light crept across the floor. Sarah didn't move from the bed. Ezra made breakfast salt pork, eggs from the chickens. She didn't eat. He didn't push her. By mid-morning, something changed. Danny's breathing slowed, became deeper, less rattling. The fever was still high, but not climbing anymore. Sarah's hand froze on his forehead. "Ezra!" He came over, felt Danny's pulse at the wrist, waited, felt it again. "It's slowing down," he said. "That's good. Means the fever's not climbing." "You sure?" "I'm sure." Sarah unwrapped the bandage with shaking hands. The wound was still angry red, but not as hot. The smell was better, still bad, but not the rotting smell from before. No new pus. "He's fighting it," Ezra said. "You think—" "I know." By afternoon, Danny's eyes fluttered open, focused on Sarah's face for the first time in days. His lips moved. "Mama!" She grabbed his hand. "I'm here. Baby. Thirsty?" She held the cup to his lips. He drank, kept it down. His eyes closed, and he slept again. But this time the sleep looked different. Natural, instead of the deep unconsciousness he'd been in. Sarah's head dropped forward. She cried, silently, tears soaking into her apron. Ezra put his hand on her shoulder, didn't say anything, just stood there. 3 more days passed. The infection receded slowly. The angry red faded to pink. The wound started to close at the edges. Doc Morrison came back twice, checked Danny, changed the dressing, said fewer words each time. On the 3rd visit, he looked at Sarah. "He's going to make it. You sure?" "As sure as I can be about anything." He packed his instruments. "Keep the wound clean, fresh bandages twice a day. If you see red streaks spreading from it, or if the fever comes back, send for me, but I don't think that'll happen." He left. Sarah and Ezra stood on the porch, watching him ride away. "I was wrong about him," Sarah said. "How's that?" "Thought he'd given up on Danny, but he came back, checked on him. He's a good doctor." "Yeah." Danny woke for longer periods now, ate broth, asked questions, complained about the pain which Ezra said was a good sign, meant he was strong enough to feel it. Sarah let herself breathe again. On the 5th day after the doctor's first visit, she woke before dawn. The cabin was cold. She'd let the fire die. She stood, stiff from sleeping in the chair beside Danny's bed, walked to the stove to restart it. Through the window, she saw Ezra at the barn. He was saddling his horse. She grabbed her shawl, went outside. The grass was wet with dew. Her feet were bare, but she didn't care. "You're leaving." Ezra didn't turn around, kept working the cinch. "Boy's out of danger. You don't need me anymore." "That ain't true." "It is." Sarah walked closer. "At least stay for breakfast." "I should get moving." "You always got somewhere to be." Ezra tied off the cinch, turned to look at her. His face was closed off, distant. "Nowhere particular." "Then stay." "I don't stay places." "Sarah, told you that. You stayed here. That was different. The boy needed. We still need you." The words came out before she could stop them, hung in the morning air. True, whether she wanted them to be or not. Ezra looked away. Up at the sky, starting to lighten in the east, the horizon line where the prairie met the air. "I ain't good at staying," he said finally. "People count on me. I let them down. That's how it goes." "You didn't let Danny down." "This time. What about next time? There's always a next time. That's how life works." Ezra shook his head, started to mount. Sarah grabbed his arm. "Please." He stopped, looked at her hand on his arm. She let go. "Just a few more days," she said. "Help me get the place ready for winter. The roof needs patching. The fence by the north pasture is still broken. I can't do it all alone." "You've been doing it alone for near a year." "I know. I'm tired of it." Ezra's jaw worked. He looked at the cabin, at the corral where the buckskin stood, at the prairie stretching away in all directions. Looked back at Sarah. "Few days," he said. "That's all. That's enough." He unsaddled the horse, turned it back out in the corral, walked with Sarah back to the cabin. Danny was awake, sitting up in bed. His left arm was still bound tight against his chest in the sling Sarah had made, but his eyes were clear. "Where you going, Mr. Boone?" the boy asked. "Nowhere. I'm staying a bit longer." "Good." They had breakfast, salt pork, eggs, the last of the cornmeal mush. Danny ate more than he had in days. Kept asking questions about the rescue, how deep the shaft was, how they got him out. Ezra answered them short, deflected most to Sarah. After they ate, Danny fell asleep again. Still weak, still healing. Sarah cleared the dishes. Ezra stood at the door, looking out. "I'll start on that roof," he said. "Don't have to start today. Might as well." He went to the barn, got the ladder, carried it to the cabin, climbed up to check the damage. Sarah came out with coffee, watched him work. "Ezra." He looked down. "Thank you for staying." He nodded once. Went back to pulling loose shingles. Sarah stood there a moment longer, then went inside to check on Danny. The boy was sleeping peaceful now, his breathing easy, the fever gone. She sat in the chair by his bed, put her head in her hands, let herself feel the weight of the past week, the fear, the exhaustion, the relief. When she looked up, Ezra was in the doorway, watching her. "You all right?" he asked. "I will be." "Good." He turned to go back to the roof. Sarah stood. "Ezra, how long you thinking you'll stay?" He paused, looked back at her. "Don't know yet. We'll see." And somehow, that was enough. 2 weeks after the doctor's last visit, Ezra finished patching the roof. He climbed down the ladder, tested his weight on the bottom rung. The wood held solid. He'd replaced 3 of them. Sarah was at the stove, stirring something that smelled like salt pork and beans cooking slow. Danny sat at the table, arm still in the sling but moving more each day. He was drawing on a piece of brown paper with a pencil stub, a horse. Crude, but recognizable. "That's good," Ezra said, looking over the boy's shoulder. "It's supposed to be your horse, but I can't get the legs right." "Legs are hard. Keep at it." Ezra washed his hands in the basin. The water ran brown with dirt and tar from the roofwork. The rope burns had finally healed over, leaving white scars across his palms. He dried them on the towel hanging from a nail. "Supper's ready," Sarah said. She'd set the table with her good plates, the ones with the rose pattern. One was chipped, but she'd put it at her own place. The food was laid out salt pork fried crisp, beans cooked with molasses, cornbread still steaming. They sat. Danny reached for the cornbread. Sarah stopped him with a look. He folded his good hand, bowed his head. Sarah said grace. Short. Just thanks for the food and the day, and Danny healing. Ezra kept his eyes open, watching the lamplight on her face. They ate. Danny talked between bites about the chickens one of them had started laying again after weeks of nothing. About the calf he'd seen down by the creek yesterday when Sarah let him walk that far, probably a stray from the Henderson place 8 miles east. About wanting to ride again soon. 6 weeks, the doc said, Sarah reminded him. "You got 2 more to go." "That's forever. That's how long bones take to heal right." Danny turned to Ezra. "How long did it take when you broke your arm?" "Who said I broke my arm?" "You got a scar, right here." Danny pointed to his own forearm. Ezra looked at his arm. The scar was old, faded white against the sun-darkened skin. 8 weeks, maybe 9. "See, Mama, Mr. Boone took longer than me. Mr. Boone was probably doing fool things before it healed proper." "That's true," Ezra admitted. Sarah almost smiled. Didn't quite, but close. After they ate, Danny went to bed without being told. He was still weak, tired easy. The infection had taken more from him than just the days in bed. Sarah covered him with the quilt Tom's mother had made, pushed his hair back from his forehead. He was already half asleep. She came back to the kitchen, started cleaning the dishes. Ezra dried them, stacked them on the shelf. They worked without talking. The cabin was quiet except for the clink of plates and the pop of the fire in the stove. "You fixed everything that needed fixing," Sarah said. "Near about. The well pump still sticks sometimes. I'll look at it in the morning." She handed him the last plate, dried her hands on her apron. Didn't look at him. "You don't have to. I know. I mean, you've done enough. More than enough." Ezra set the plate down. "You asking me to leave? No. I'm saying you're free to, if you want, and if I don't want." Sarah turned then, looked at him straight on. Her eyes were tired but steady. "Then I guess you stay." The fire crackled. Outside, coyotes started up their evening song. Far off, lonely. "I'll stay a bit longer," Ezra said. "Get you ready for winter proper. After that, we'll see." "Yeah." Sarah nodded. Hung the dish towel on its nail. "I'm going to bed. You need anything?" "I'm fine." She walked to the bedroom door. Stopped. "Ezra." "Yeah. Thank you. For everything." He didn't answer. She went inside, closed the door quiet. Ezra sat at the table, looked at the third chair where Tom's hat had been. Sarah had moved it to a peg by the door sometime in the past 2 weeks. He hadn't noticed when... The chair was just a chair now. He stood. Went outside. The night was clear. Cold. Stars everywhere, thick as spilled salt. He rolled a cigarette. His hands were steady now. Lit it. Smoked it down to nothing. His horse nickered from the corral. Ezra walked over, stroked the gray's neck. The horse pushed its nose against his chest. Warm breath in the cold air. "Getting soft," Ezra told it. "Both of us." The horse snorted like it disagreed. Morning came cold. First frost on the grass. Ezra woke in the barn to his breath steaming in the air. He'd slept in his clothes, bedroll wrapped tight, sat up, pulled his boots on, walked to the cabin. Sarah was already up. Coffee made, she poured him a cup without asking. Her hands were red from the cold water at the pump. "Winter's coming," she said. "Feels like it." Danny was still asleep in the bedroom. They sat at the table, drank coffee, watched the sun come up through the window, turning the frost gold. "I should get moving," Ezra said after a while. "Get some miles in before the weather turns." Sarah's cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Set it down. "Today. Seems right." She didn't argue, just nodded, stood, went to the cupboard, pulled out a cloth sack, started packing jerky, bread wrapped in cloth, 2 apples. Ezra finished his coffee, went to the barn. His horse was waiting like it knew. He saddled it slow, checking every strap twice. The stirrup leather was worn. He'd need to replace it soon. Not today. Maybe the next town. When he came back. Sarah was on the porch, the sack of food in her hands. She held it out. He took it, started to tie it to his saddle. She reached into her apron pocket, pulled out a silver dollar, held it toward him. "For your trouble. The roof work and all. I don't want it. Take it anyway. Sarah, please." He took the coin. It was warm from being in her pocket. An 1884 Morgan, Lady Liberty on the face, eagle on the back. He put it in his vest pocket. The bedroom door opened. Danny came out, rubbing his eyes, saw Ezra's saddled horse, stopped. "You leaving? Time I moved on." "Where you going?" "South. Maybe. Or west. Haven't decided." Danny walked out onto the porch, stood beside his mother. The sling held his left arm tight against his chest still. Would for another 2 weeks at least. "You coming back?" the boy asked. Ezra looked at Sarah. She was watching him, waiting for his answer. "Don't know," he said. Danny reached into his pocket with his good hand, pulled out Tom's brass compass, the one he'd tried to give Ezra before, held it out again. "You should take this, so you don't get lost." Ezra knelt down so they were eye level, took the compass, turned it over in his hand. Tom's initials were carved on the back. "TC," he handed it back. "That was your pa's. You keep it. But I'll tell you what," he pulled his own pocket watch out, old silver, dented from years of carrying. "This was my pa's. You hold on to it for me. When I come back, you can give it to me then. You promise you're coming back." Ezra looked at the watch in Danny's hand, at Sarah standing behind her son, at the cabin with smoke coming from the chimney, at the prairie stretching away in all directions, grass moving in the wind. "I don't make promises I can't keep," he said. "But I'll try." Danny closed his fingers around the watch. "That's good enough." Ezra stood, put his hand on the boy's shoulder. "You mind your mama now? She needs your help getting ready for winter." "I will." Ezra turned to Sarah, touched the brim of his hat. "Ma'am." "Ezra!" He mounted. The horse shifted under him, ready to move. He turned its head south, started riding. Didn't look back at first. The grass was still wet with frost. His horse's hooves left dark prints. He rode to the southern fence line, maybe half a mile from the cabin. There was a rise there, the land dropping away toward town 12 miles distant. He stopped at the top, sat there looking south at the empty prairie. Then he turned in the saddle, looked back. Sarah was still on the porch, Danny beside her. They were watching. Sarah raised one hand, not waving, just acknowledging. Ezra touched the brim of his hat, held it there a moment, then he turned the horse south again and rode over the rise. Sarah and Danny stood in the yard. The sun was climbing higher now, burning off the frost. They could hear the hoofbeats for a while, then just the wind in the grass. "He's really gone," Danny said. "He is." "You think he'll come back?" Sarah looked at the ridge where Ezra had disappeared. The sky was blue and empty above it. "Don't know, but he was here when we needed him. That's what matters." Danny looked down at the pocket watch in his hand, opened it. The hands had stopped. No one had wound it in years. "I'm gonna fix this. Get it working again." "That's a good idea." She took his good hand. They walked back toward the cabin. The door was still open from when they'd come out. Lamplight spilled across the threshold even though the sun was up. She'd forgotten to blow it out. Inside, the cabin was warm from the stove. Danny's drawing was still on the table, the horse he'd been working on. Sarah picked it up, looked at it, set it back down. The third chair was empty. Tom's hat on the peg by the door. She looked at it, thought about moving it, putting it away finally. Didn't. It was just part of the room now, like the stove, like the table, like the photograph on the wall of her and Tom on their wedding day, both of them young and not knowing what was coming. She walked to the stove, fed it more wood. The fire caught, grew. Danny sat at the table, opened the pocket watch again, examined the mechanism inside, touched it with one careful finger. "You think Mr. Boone's pa gave him this?" he asked. "I expect so. That means he's coming back. To get it." "Maybe. I think he is." Sarah didn't answer. She poured herself more coffee from the pot on the stove. It was bitter now, too strong. She drank it anyway. Outside, the prairie stretched away in all directions. The grass was turning gold with the coming autumn. The sky was the deep blue it only got in Montana, clean and hard. Somewhere out there, Ezra was riding, getting smaller, getting further away. But his watch was here, on her table, in her son's hands. Sarah walked to the door, looked out at the ridge one more time. Nothing but grass and sky. She closed the door, not all the way, left it open a crack, letting the light in. Some stories sit heavy after they end. This one does for me. There's something about watching people rebuild not from some grand moment of clarity, but from the quiet decision to stay when leaving would be easier. Sarah didn't become someone new. Ezra didn't stop being the man who'd spent years moving. Danny healed crooked. The ranch stayed hard. Winter was coming. Maybe that's what stays with us. Not the rescue itself, but what comes after. The ordinary days. The choice to keep showing up when the dramatic part is over and all that's left is roof work and morning coffee and a pocket watch on the table that may or may not get claimed. The not knowing if someone's coming back. Many of us know that weight. The loss that doesn't resolve clean. The help we couldn't repay in full. The person who showed up once and changed everything, then left, and we're still not sure what it meant. We carry these things quietly. They don't always mean what we hope they mean. It's all right for stories to end like this, unfinished, still working itself out. Some things don't get tied up neat. They just are. Thank you for sitting with this one, for staying through the hard parts.